Go live. Okay, I think we might be live, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm Janet Lessin, and I'm here with my co-host, Theresa J. Morris, and we are presenting some information on our upcoming book, which will be out in about 2 months, maybe 3, and it's called Portal Stargate, which is the series, and this one is called Avatars, which is the first in the series. And this is this picture. And then let's say hi to Theresa. Theresa, say hi. Can you hear
us?
Okay, you can hear
I have
us.
to do everything backwards. Hi.
I know, it's not weird. Everything's backwards.
I don't know why
it goes backwards.
That's on the other side. It's sort of weird.
It's a mirror world. Yes,
it is.
So these are I'm just looking around on the internet. Where's Theresa? Oh my goodness. Okay. Here she's coming back. Okay. We have new internet connection here in Hawaii. So we should have a better connection. It took 26 years for what do you call it? The wireless with the high stream. What do you call those? 5G, but it's with fiber optics. Yeah, it took 26 years.
You just
for them.
got it.
Where's Theresa? It took 26 years for them to get the fiber optics into my neighborhood. 26 years. So finally, we got that wired up at a great expense, but I think it's worth it because we're remaining connected to you, the world, and we're bringing our message to everybody. And what is our message? Well, let me give a little background. We have a lifetime as extraterrestrial contactee experiencers, our involvement in the secret space program or the secret military or whatever you want to call it. And Theresa and I have been piecing together our story on these shows since June, what was it? June 6, 2012? Theresa, what day did we start our podcast?
Exactly.
Our blog talk. June
Correct.
6, 2012. So it's a little bit over, how many years is that? Anyway, 11 years. So this is, I'm looking, we don't have an artist or pictures of us when we were kids, but this is kind of like, Theresa had long dark hair with hazel eyes, and I had blondish hair with blue eyes. And this is supposed to be us as kids, and then this is us as we're grown up. It's just a space holder. I don't know what we're going to end up with, but maybe we'll get our AI to generate us some more images, but we're just got those from the internet. So we're going to start. What I'm doing is having to interview Theresa to get some of her stories because they're in her head. And I've heard them time and again, but this time we're going to, I'm going to do you first. So I'm going to ask Theresa, where were you before you were born? Do you have any memories? I have memories of where I was making my decision to come into my body. And I know people might think that's strange, but a lot of people have pre-birth memories, and they may recover them by doing, hypnosis or psychotherapy or meditation. There's a lot of ways to recover your pre-birth, where you were before you decided to come in. Also, we do past lives. But Theresa, I'm just asking you, where were you before you came here as Theresa J. Morris?
Well, you're talking about being immortal.
Did you hear me?
Yes, we're immortal souls. And as far as memories encoding through the veil and here, Janet, that might be not the place we want to start, because in the first few seconds, people may or may not know how to adopt listening, their ears, because you even threw me for a loop. I had to think, which dimension and which lane are we traveling in on the planet? So three-dimensional talk.
Perfect.
That's not normal.
That's perfect, because
paranormal.
It was meant to catch you off guard. It's meant for you to be spontaneous, because we don't want you to overthink it. So yes or no, do you have any memories of where you were before you came in as Theresa J. Morris?
Well, I'm a minister of
And what
faith
does
and
that mean?
music and word. So ascension mystery is that we are ancient masters and we honor our elders through our immortality and our souls. So of course we remember where we were because that's where we return back to. But however, at birth, due to the trauma and the way this world is set up, most people go through the trauma of a human growth inside another human. Therefore, we adopt that we are from our mother and father on the planet. So I think today we should start there because anything starting before that is going to get into our Ace Metaphysical Institute and that which we teach that people don't accept in this reality. So I would suggest before I was born that I was an immortal soul. And at this point, Janet, that's as far as I'm willing to go
Okay.
because it's very deep well we're entering. And I know I can go
All
there
right.
with you, but let's just start with we are an immortal soul, and we believe we are after going into these avatars, we're avatar masters. So we become avatar masters, and then on the planet, the spiritual journey that I possess and I interfaith with ministries in all universal life ministries is that we are immortals. And we are concerned about our
Right.
souls as much as we are our physical reality, our meat suits. But I don't want to
Mhm.
go into our past lives right now. It says before I was born, Teresa J. Morris.
Right.
So I
And
want
that's
to tell you
okay.
I was an immortal soul.
You want to pass on that one, that's fine.
Immortal soul is
We're
fine.
just deep diving here. We are deep diving.
That's
And
real
we're
deep.
going into
Start
the
off in the
story
deep
because I
end.
think all the story is essential for the story of our human lives here and now because the past, present, and the future are all one and we influence everything every day in every way. So I'll just give you an example for me. I remember choosing to come in here. I remember choosing my parents. I remember many, many, many past lives, which we can go into in another show. And I have recalled my mission. Now, I've done a lot of that. Some of it was spontaneous, some through self reflection and meditation, some of it through hypnotherapy, past life regression, holotropic breath work. There's all different psychotechnologies to recover your memories before you were born. And some of them are critical because we act out the same issues we had in previous lives. So we might have karma with our siblings or our parents, and we tend to recreate that or with partners we meet, spouses, and they can be very pleasant or dysfunctional. So we're not sure exactly how it pans out, but we'll go to another slide here. So we'll come back to this in a future
Yeah.
show
Or
after Teresa
handling
decides
past life
if
memories,
she's
maybe.
ready to past life memories and pre birth, and that's also includes where you go in between lives. Where do you go when you die? So we're exploring all that. Okay, so next slide. So I'm going to go to you. So Teresa was born December 26, 1951. So what do you remember about your birth, or did you have stories about your birth that you were told after you were born? So off
Wow.
the top of your head, what do you remember about your birth?
I just remember my being a very happy baby and very much in love, and everybody loved me and everybody held me. And I remember being on people's knees, being bounced as a little child. So I was aware of my surroundings. I do remember that, but I also have a lot of pictures. But I haven't seen any till just recently. My sister brought some back from our stepmother's home, so those were fun lists remembering me when I was a baby. But I was born at 10 pounds, 3 ounces. I don't know, I think 21 inches. I can go look at my birth certificate. But pretty much, Janet, we need to talk from 3D that people remember as human form. And I would say that up until I remember, mother said there's no way I could remember that I was, but I do. And she said, but you weren't even 2 years old yet. So the first accountability of someone outside myself questioning my reality was before I was 2 years old, and I pulled my potty out from under the bed. because I live next to my grandma Thurmond. And so that's one of the first arguments that I've had with my mother as an adult, that she was like, you were just barely walking. You can't remember that. And I said, well, Mother, I do. I have all these memories. I explained it. I explained the building or the small room we were in. I explained where the kitchen was. And I explained to her where was Daddy. He was in bed sleeping. She says, well, that's where your dad mostly was. So that's not a good one. I said, Mom, I remember the bed. I remember the rail. She says, you were just barely walking. So whatever that is between 1 and 2, where you're still peeing in a potty, I pulled my potty out from under that bed next to my grandma Thurmond. So unfortunately, both my parents are dead, but Mother said that was before I was 2. So obviously, our memories do come in before we're 2 in this reality, and in this 3D reality, right? So I would say
Right,
before I was 2. And
right.
even though my
And
parents,
my
mother
husband,
was
let me just interject.
daddy,
Let me add to that. Let me add to that. Let me add to that. Then I'll go back to you. Let me add to that. Then I'll go back to you. Like my husband, he says, I remember everything. He says, that's a myth that you don't remember. You do remember. You get told over and over that you don't remember, but you do remember. We have it. We have it all here. We have it all here. That we can recover. Now, I remember a lot of things before I was 2 years old. I remember coming in, and first of all, the story I was told is that I was so sickly when they brought me home from the hospital that they had to take me back because I was allergic to the steel mill, the stuff that was coming out of the steel mill that was right across the river from my house, and the pollution was horrendous. So as soon as they brought me out of a sterile environment to my home with open windows, well, it was winter. It was very cold. I was born February 6th. You're going to go back to me. I'm the
there you go.
well, I your baby. I was born
You're
February
sleeping.
6th, 54. And yeah, whatever, business representation. And the weather was horrendous. It was freezing cold. My house is never warm. I mean, when I was growing up, I was always cold. It was just a big old drafty 1840s farmhouse. What is that noise? Is that your
Folders
dog?
in my bookcase for me. I've got a picture of me as a baby. I'm going to have my
Okay.
sister get
Yeah.
my baby picture just because I
Oh,
didn't know
good.
why I got them. I didn't know you were going to do this, but obviously,
Okay, it's a
you're doing
surprise. So
awareness.
let me
And
finish that, and I'll pass it back to you. I just want to say one more thing. So Sasha said when he was born, he came out. He was so happy to be born that the doctor didn't have a firm grip on him, and he started to wiggle, and he almost wiggled right off the table onto the floor.
baby,
And then I had a client one time that wore a hat his whole life, and when we did the regression when he was really young, um, his uh, his auntie called him a towhead, meaning he was super white blonde. And he thought he had something wrong with his head. So his entire adult life, he could not be anywhere without a cap on or hat on. And so finally in therapy, he uncovered a memory he had from when he was. You're on camera,
a little bitty
Teresa.
baby back here. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Teresa, you're on camera. Okay. Anyway, so he was cured of that need to constantly how. Okay, so you have to hold still. Now you've got to glare. Okay, there it is. So there she is. It's cute.
Now I
So
was
how old were
3,
you in that picture?
3, about, and
Yeah,
I think,
you
listen,
can tell you're not that young.
Bert and look good in this picture, and I look like a scarecrow. Mother said she looked like a scarecrow. That's so funny. Can you see that
Anyway,
one?
Teresa, there's a scanner app on your phone. There's a scanner app on your phone that you can scan in those images, and it does a very good job. It's a scanner app on any smartphone. So you can lay your pictures down instead of trying to take a picture of a picture, you scan it in. So let's get that down from your face because that doesn't show us anything but the back. Okay. Alrighty. So anything else that you remember about before you were born, even though your mother said you can't possibly remember anything that young. We're gonna sigh, Mom, because they're dead. There we are. There's Theresa, and we're gonna just say, yeah, I remember, and here's what I remember. Anything else you remember?
Everybody
Oh, I
remembers
had
being on
that.
this pony.
That horse, that that pony traveled so far from Pennsylvania to where were you born?
Monroe,
Teresa, where were you born?
Louisiana. Monroe,
Yes, that pony
Louisiana.
from
I had a
Pennsylvania
little
to
baby.
Louisiana. It was a busy pony and got everybody in the world. Everybody got a picture taken on the pony. Wait, what's that? Hold still. I can't quite see what that is. Are you being held by somebody? Okay. So we'll scan those in. We'll put them on your bio. Here's Theresa when she was,
There's another one with just me as a fat
6
baby.
months, 5 months. Because we're proving she was born. Okay.
All right, but
the
that was
show.
fun. Memory lane. I didn't know we were going to do that, but isn't that odd? I didn't think we had any because I gave them all to my. I gave all my pictures, all my family pictures, a long time ago when I went in the military and was driving a big truck. I gave them all to my daughter, big 4 boxes of them, and told her that she was now in charge of the family pictures. So, did you have? You're right. We should, get them out. But Brenda brought me a few, so we could know.
I don't
that,
have any. My sister has them all, and my
Yeah,
brother
ask her for
have them.
some.
And I can't get anybody to cooperate. Give me my pictures. Unless I get them and fly back
So much for
there and take it back or scan them myself. And I don't understand that, but I think they might have been mad that I was born. That's my conclusion. They didn't
Can you
like
see?
that I was born. They're keeping my
There's me with
pictures
my
of me.
teddy
That
bear.
was awesome. So you can scan all those in with a smartphone app called Scanner, and then we'll have them all. So if they get lost or in a fire or something, they'll be in the cloud, which will be there for like 500 years from now. You're born
These are
again. You can
supposed
go
to be
back and
me.
say, "This is what I looked like when I was alive in the 1950s in life, in my life as Theresa J. Moore." You can look at
This is
this,
how I
which
knew
is
I was
kind of what
going to
we do in
Hawaii. I have a
Ancestry.
lay on.
Yep, you knew you were going to Hawaii before. There you go. You got figured out how to get that in the screen. So there's Theresa. She has dozens of pictures of herself because somebody loved her enough to preserve it all. And I don't have anything. Wah, wah, wah. Where are my pictures? Okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
here's what one of the things I remember.
There's
See,
the window.
this is a
I
little
remember
baby
looking
boy,
out.
but I'm okay.
Okay.
Oh, good. So we'll get that later. We're going to the next because we're already 18 minutes into the show. We can.
All right, this
burn
is
enough
yours.
time.
So these
So
are
here's one of the things
artist
I
renditions
remember.
of you.
This is Janet. Janet Lessin.
Okay.
I remember these ETs in my bedside, much like this little boy, and he's braver than I am. I think I just stared at him. I might have reached for them. I don't know. So let's see. What did you do? So here's what you had. So you had UFOs peeking from the clouds. Okay, show that picture that you were peeking from the clouds when you were in the crib. That one's critical. There we go. Go up close again. Okay, so you were in that crib, and there's the window. You always said you had the window. That's a window behind you. See how your memories have lined up with a actual picture that you just got today from your sister. See how miraculous that is? So you turned and tell us about when you were looking out the window and you saw these UFOs. Let's see your face. You
Yeah.
can put that down now. Okay. Tell us about
Well,
that.
make us bigger. Can you hit the button in the middle to make us bigger when you can put that.
Okay,
Can't you put that in
let's see
us?
what it is. Nope, here's another one. Nope, that's not it. That's you. How do I get you? Start talking.
Keep hitting buttons. And there you go. Right
okay,
there.
Here, go ahead and talk. I'm going to show
That's
that
fine.
picture, but go ahead.
Yeah, you don't
talk
have to when you're
about
talking.
that when you were there you go.
Well,
There's another one.
Janet has a long story that she wants told. I'm in reverse, so it's very hard to know what I'm doing. It's so funny because your your sight sees in reverse. So anyway, all right. So maybe when I was looking out the window, I was seeing reverse, but she was showing you clouds that look like when UFOs are they're round cylindrical. But yeah, two of the no smaller dishes came down when I was that size and that. And yes, I used to watch them. I'd lay there and look out the window and watch these little spinning plates when I was a little bitty girl, and they'd entertain me. So that was one of my first memories in that crib. Very interesting memory, isn't it? But Janet knows because she's quizzed me
Right.
for 20 some odd years since 1993. Because how did she and I get into this UFO business? So I guess today she's starting to tell us from the crib that we talk about how can contactees have memories from the crib. So we're that's living proof, at least to me it is, because I didn't have any of these pictures. And I was just explaining to her screen of the mind. And so that right there shows her the memory, and that's exactly how I remembered laying there in the crib. She's like, laying in your crib? She says, well, I remember in the crib and scooting my crib. And I said, I remember scooting the crib too. You could finally get up and stand, and we'd both bash forward and backwards, but we would be looking like out. Did you have that's funny. So she's trying to prove, and we work with a lot of PhD and doctors in life coding and neurological memories. So good for you, Janet. So do you remember looking out the window and seeing anything like that as a child, or uh, clouds? You've got clouds. Now
What
there's
I
a name for
remember is I I was not by a window. I was well, I could have been by a window, but I didn't see it out the window. What I saw was they came right in front of me. So basically, I was able to look into their eyes. So they were right. This is a little video. I couldn't figure out how to capture it.
yeah,
He's like looking at the baby, and then he turns, and I did a screenshot and captured that. But
yeah,
and I saw these aliens, and when I was a kid, because the aliens were not part of our culture back in the 50s, basically until Betty and Barney Hill, and it wasn't until their movie came out and Communion in the 80s that we saw what they looked like. But because
right,
I didn't have a word for it, I said, this is a ghost. I go, Mommy, there's a ghost that comes to visit me. And I didn't see the craft, I just saw the beings. But you saw the craft, but this is not a good representation. But I wanted to get, like you looked outside and there was, I don't know what outside your window looked like. Were you in the city? Were you in the country? I didn't know
yeah. I
that.
was in the
So
city, but where I was, you could see that there were trees, but next to the trees, you could see through to the clouds, and I could always see the sky. Always see the sky. So sky was part of my life from the time I was, little in memory. Thank you, Brenda. She'll probably bring up others, but we'll scan them in.
right.
But
So
Brenda was
that
my sister, Brenda. Brenda, you should grab
yeah.
one of
Hi,
us. You should
Brenda.
see me and Brenda and how she and I were shocked at the difference in height. Of course, now we're close to the same height. I'm still her big
I'll
sister in
bring
a
that
lot of
up. Let's
ways.
see that.
Brenda, bring that picture of you
But
and me,
you're five
the one I
years.
like fishing.
How
It's
many
hilarious.
years old? Are you? Are you two? Are you 2 or 3 years? How many years are you apart from
Oh,
Brenda?
Brenda,
3 years.
she says it's y'all. Okay,
Are you
bring that.
three
Bring
years?
that
Are
one
you
on the
3 years
fire
older than
truck.
Brenda?
Yeah, bring the one on the fire truck too. She's willing to show you our latest, and the one she'll show you
Okay.
how big I was behind her. This one because it's convenient. This is
Well, you're
actually
still
on a
taller
plate.
right now, right?
That's us. Can you see us, Brenda, in front of me?
Are you? Yeah. Yeah.
Put it back
So
with me and
Brenda's in
just me and
front
you,
of you.
where they can
So
see it.
that's you in the background.
Put it back.
Oh my God! So you
Put it
were
back on.
You were 3 years older, but you
Janet,
were
you
so
can
much
see, but
older
the people can't.
looking.
Make
You were 3 years older
make
than her, but you were so much bigger than her. Wow, you look like. Go ahead.
Put me back number 2. You push the button on the clouds.
Okay,
there.
sure. There we go. There we go. Now move that over in front of your face the other way. Okay, there you go. No, the other way. There you go. So there's you're in the back. Is that your little brothers?
Yeah, 2 brothers.
Can you? Who's
That's
2
Nat.
brothers? And that's Brenda in the front.
That's me, and that's Huey. He's the only brother still alive.
He's the one that
Okay.
always believed in UFOs
So-
and kept all the UFO stories. My brother was in the UFO business before I was. Huey, we thought he was crazy,
Cool.
me and Brenda.
All right. So
Well, here's Brenda now.
now there was
This is
another picture you were going to show me.
Yeah, this is Brenda and Jim now
With you.
with me. The fat lady is
Oh,
me.
when did you get? Oh, you got that picture on the cruise. You did that on the cruise.
Yes,
When did you get that picture taken?
Last November.
last
On the
November.
cruise.
Yes.
Where did you
So
get
that's-
that picture taken through?
That was on a cruise that Brenda and Jim paid for.
That's
They
fine.
they wanted me to get out of the house after COVID and my daughter dying.
Oh, that is nice.
And I wasn't, I was stuck here with the Revolution Radio, and then you and I was the last
Mhm.
people know really socially. We quit Revolution Radio after COVID-19 or during COVID-19. You did your show 2018. Gigi died March 2019, and I went into a deep depression. And my sister had lost her daughter, and she had gone in a 5 or 6 year deep depression. So she knew I was going to, and I didn't believe her, but I was in total denial. Death is really hard. I thought I handled it really well. But, well, at least I didn't lose all my teeth. Bless her heart.
A lot of people go into denial.
She had a failure
Now,
to
this-
thrive herself.
Was something that you told me in one of your episodes, and you speaking of Brenda, what was the next baby? Who was it between you and Brenda?
Yeah, Brenda, is this close
Which
to the
baby were you
size?
asking your mom to take back?
Brenda, the one's here.
Anyway, I just found this
Come here,
on
Brenda.
the internet. It's all out there.
Put your shirt
was
on
so-
and
it
come
was-
here.
It looks like a little girl.
She wants
They
to hear the
There's a little girl that's
the
a
grocery
proud
bag story.
new baby.
I
So,
didn't make that up.
Were you
Brenda,
the baby?
come here.
Come here,
I'm
Brenda.
not the baby. Well, come here,
No, you're not
Brenda.
baby. You're the little girl that's disgruntled and like, Mommy, take it back. Mommy, take it back. Tell us about that episode.
I
your
wasn't quite that
perspective.
big. I was about like when that red dress, the three and a half years. It's like your age
Okay,
and my
so-
age. You and Brenda are about the same age. So I was about 3 years older. Well, let's look at it. I was born
Uh-huh.
December 26, 1951. And she was born October 18th, 1954. So you're about what? You were born in February of that year.
She's on
Come here,
the-
Brenda. Come here and get on the screen.
No.
She won't get on the
Right,
screen.
right.
The story goes, and it's not a story because I remember it.
Okay, well, anyway,
I remember it, but yeah, I went and got her out of the crib that we both slept
The
in.
preacher came to visit.
I guess the preacher, well, you tell your version. Come here. Tell your
The
version.
preacher came to visit to see the new baby. My sister went and got me out of the baby bed, put me in a paper sack, dragged me in there, and gave me to the preacher. You said, "Take her." I don't
Take
want
her. I don't want her. I thought it was back to the grocery store, but she says there's a preacher. The preacher came to see Brenda, the new baby. So I politely helped myself go get her out of the baby bed, put her in we used to shop at A&P. So I went and got a big grocery bag, put her in the grocery bag, and drug her from the back room to the front through the hallway, which I remember, down the hallway, through the living room, because you had to go down the hallway, go in the living room, and come back around. They put it in the other houses, they had a door into the kitchen, but ours was not that way. Had to go back around to the other side of the living room and go into the back kitchen and drug her up there and told him, I thought I said, take her back to the store. I don't want her, which I may have because Brenda and I are going from memory. So my memory was take her back to the grocery store. I didn't want her because I thought everything came from the grocery store. A&P, take her back. I don't want her.
What did the adults say? The minister.
I don't know, Brenda. They've just told the story. Brenda, what do you think they thought?
Well, of course, Mother screamed.
She said Mother screamed because I had the baby in the
Mother screamed.
Yeah, Mother screamed.
And you wanted it to go back, so she thought
I wasn't
that
this big.
Where you were a teenager.
Yeah. I wasn't this big. I was like 3. So whatever it is.
Okay. This is all it was out there. I didn't have any real pictures.
3. So
now we might have real pictures.
I wasn't even 3 years old yet.
Okay.
I was old enough to know better because I was over 2. So I was 2 years and like 10 months, almost 3, when I wanted her to go back.
Anyway,
so
you told me about this.
Yeah.
And somehow it's significant with your life story because it's interesting what our brain remembers, right? When I
take this baby back,
you about of all these things, why do certain things pop into our minds?
Look, Brenda,
and I'll be like washing getting a shower or something. Why? And then strange memories will come back, and I'll go, why am I thinking of this now? So when we were looking at the incidents for Theresa, this was one that took out your mind. Take this baby back. And so,
now
what were your emotions around that one? You were. That's okay.
I got to like that for a while.
Were you feeling threatened that you're being usurped? Your position in the
I'm
family,
sure. I had a mother and a daddy. Of course, I remember. I had to share. I was very jealous of her. I remember that was how I learned jealousy. That was a terrible, terrible thing. Greed and jealousy are not good emotions, but they are human in nature. So the first ones I remember as a human, a 3D baby, was why does she get all the attention and I don't? Of course, she was the baby. They always held her. But see, I was the only one. I was a very, very, I had so much attention. So I had to share my attention with my mom and my dad, my grandmother, the preacher that came over there, everybody. I mean, they all wanted to see the baby and oohed and awed over her. She does remember those years, I guess. Brenda, do you remember getting attention? She said she doesn't remember getting attention. And do you remember when Nat was born?
Daddy how did you learn to love your baby sister?
Coloring with her.
What was it?
Mother made me take. I still remember. I've got a picture somewhere where Mother bought me a doll, a life-size doll, 2-year-old, like this girl standing here, a life-size doll to get used to taking care of an older doll baby instead of a tiny Tears. And I still remember being jealous of the girl next door, Kathy Baldwin, because she had a tiny Tears. Instead, I had a real baby. So Mother, during the pictures, I still remember in the house, opening the door, going out on the front porch that walked out to almost the street. There was a ditch, and then the street, South 7th. Mother made me sit and hold Brenda, my baby, which was really tiny. I think she was just growing out hair. Still had her diaper. I'm a little tiny baby. And she had the other girls hold my big tall doll and one of my dolls, and she put me holding Brenda in the middle. Do you know I still have a memory opening that door and looking out and seeing her pose, Lynn Dozier and Kathy Baldwin, and then had me come out. And I said, no, I'll just hold the doll. I was so jealous I didn't want to hold my baby sister. That's how jealous. That was the memory. I remember that feeling. of open the door and telling mother, no, I am not going to hold Brenda. No. You know, Blinda. What Bindo? I don't know what I called her. I didn't call her
Do you
Brenda. I don't
remember?
know that
Did
I
you have any
said her.
impulse to hurt her? Like
What?
Sasha said that he tweaked his little. Did you have any impulse to hurt her? Sasha said he
No,
tweaked his
it
baby's
wasn't about that young.
toe.
She and I fought later, but when she was little, mother, you asked me how I got to love her. Mother would make us sit in color in the living room together. So I taught her how to
Oh,
color and how she couldn't stay in the lines, but she'd just scratch over the paper. But we had coloring books
right.
back then, so and we had butcher block paper that my they'd get from the Olin paper mill. Everybody back then they'd bring home rolls for $5. It was expensive back then, maybe it was 50 cents.
Right.
But we learned to color together, and then I remember Nat coloring too. She had to teach Nat the same way I had to teach her, but she taught Nat left-handed because she was left-handed. I didn't teach her to be left-handed; she was naturally left-handed.
Natural lefty.
Nat learned left-handed, but he was born right-handed. He became a little messed up, ambidextrous, according to what I heard when they were little. So much about childhood memories. Oh, you want to talk about your remembering? You were
So
telling you remember
we're going to keep moving
4
because
years
it's
old.
only halfway
Yep.
through our show. Now here's what I remembered it for. Let's see what we have for you. Okay, so you, oh yeah, that wasn't 51. What year was that? You ran away. I got to correct that. What year was that where you ran away and you were taken
It
up to
was
meet the
after
ET?
mother was inside taking care of Brenda on South 7th, and it was during May. The flowers were sprung.
What year? What year? I got this screwed up. What year are we looking at?
Probably 54 because it was before I started school. Uh, let's see, if Brenda was already
Okay, so
born,
that was 54. I've got to correct that.
it's probably 55 because Brenda was born. You and Brenda were born in
55.
54. And so Brenda was probably one
Right.
or so, but Brenda was taking care of Brenda inside the house all the time. And I had to play by myself unless she'd come out, swing me if Brenda was on a nap. But I still remember naps and I hated them. So I remember getting in bed with Brenda and mother bringing in her
What happened?
bottle.
Let's start from the beginning. So in 1955, was it spring, summer, fall?
It was
What
after I was
weather like
taking the
outside when you ran
flowers.
up?
It was
You're breaking
whenever
up.
the
Say that again.
flowers, it was during that,
Springtime.
it was during the time where that brown string, that wheat looking stuff in South 7th and Monroe, there was next to Kathy Baldwin was an empty lot. Okay, there was nobody there. It was a new subdivision on South 7th
Uh-huh.
Street. And then you walked across the street, and then you'd go to the elementary school, which is still there. It was called, damn it, Brenda, what was that called? Elementary. Was it South 7th School? It was, let's see, Ransom was second. First grade was right there on South 7th Street. I forgot the name of the school. I think it was just called South 7th Street. I'm not sure. But it was South 7th, I think, was on the side of it. Anyway, it's where I started in Monroe, Louisiana. But yeah, it was between the school and between where I lived. And I fell, well, I told mother I fell asleep, but it was an empty lot where a house would go and did go afterwards. But there was the brown stuff was up, but tulips. So I would say early, late April or early May. And I was
It's spring,
I fell
yeah.
asleep. But my mind, that's the time I remember going up and seeing my body for the first time on what you and I would call a UFO or a ship. And that's when I got introduced into myself, another family from I don't know what you'd want to call them, but they were like us. And, I had two families. So I felt very good with them. It was just like that love you feel from your mother and father. And they told me I'd have to go back down and live, it wasn't, I had to live with
What did they look like?
I don't know, but they must
were
have been
humanoid?
I remember them being human. I always remember humans. So
Right.
I was
Uh-huh.
never scared, but they said I had, like, they were family It was like my elders, like my aunts and uncles and all that, but they were just people like mom and dad. But they said, I seemed to know them. They, whatever they, whoever or
Right.
whatever they were. I was, I remember people. Okay, Jane, even when you had the little UFO looking guy with
Are
the bug eye,
they male, female?
one of one of each usually. Uh, I
Uh-huh.
say one or two because
Were they
binary.
taller than you? Same size,
I don't know.
shorter?
I don't. All I remember is going up and looking down at my body, and they taught me a lesson. They taught me that I didn't have to stay on the very long, but I had stuff to do here, and so they taught me how to separate from my body. So my lesson was this is like an immortal lesson. You're an immortal soul,
Mhm.
and I was already had friends I talked to. So they taught me lessons. They taught me, ESP and um, just that made me smarter. They made me believe in them always, like faith, believe, immortal stuff. But they taught me how to leave my body out of body and how to come back in. So that's why I think I've always been able to live and die and come back. And I believe people have a soul, but I also believe we have a family in space. And some of us, for whatever reason, are always attached to that family and that level of initiation and soul searching or on your journey. So it started me. And then that when I would ever die, I always knew that family was there. So that's why I believe in interdimensional travel and other universes, because this can't possibly be the only one. Other people couldn't see what I saw. My mother couldn't see my playmates that before Brenda came, I had playmates, but they were invisible. According to mother, she couldn't see them.
Mhm.
So there's names for kids like me. I'm afraid it was always
Well,
don't tell anybody. My grandmother
I
got
know
scared.
it may feel like it may feel like you're the only one that had it, but this is a common experience that experiencers have. Invisible playmates, the adults don't believe you, you know, and they might be in a slightly different vibratory frequency. So children might be able to see a greater spectrum, just like a dog can hear a greater spectrum. So, which little doggy is that? Is that Coco behind you?
Is
Who's
there a
behind
dog?
you right now?
Oh,
Oh, that's baby Brenda.
Yeah.
oh, that's Brenda's dog.
Oh, isn't that cute? Hi, Brenda's dog. She's is that yeah. Anyway, so anyway, it's a very common experience. So you met your star family. They so this is for me. This is evidence, maybe not proof, but evidence that we also have an eternal family that is not humans. Not everybody, but some people do. Maybe everybody does. I don't know. I can't really determine that. I just know we have lots of experiences with oh,
This is
kissy
Panda.
kissy.
I don't see my
Oh,
dog. Oh yeah, I do.
goodness,
Hold on, I'll
Brenda.
show you my dog. Hold on. Come here for your close up. This is my companion.
Oh, there's her close up. Oh, there's the star. The star is born. I hear her yapping all the time. I
This
had a
is
little
Coco.
Shih Tzu as well. And mine was called Tiffany, and Tiffany was a yapper. They like to
Look,
yap.
look at her
All
shirt.
right,
Brent,
so
look at this shirt. Look. Oh, she won't let me. She jumped down.
oh,
It says I give free kisses.
too much, too much.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're a
so
dog family.
back
These are our children.
to so anyway,
Well,
you
back
saw
then,
your family, and then let me finish the story. So then, what happened? Did they notice you missing? Yeah, did they notice you missing? Did they come running looking for you? What happened? How did this story end?
apparently, it must have been about 3:30 or so because Daddy went home from work. Mother called Sisty, who called Aunt Bella and Uncle Rufus to come get her, which she lived on South 3rd Street, 4 blocks ahead of us in the same block. Like right behind us, just 4 blocks over. So, but she couldn't walk it very good. She was already older, But she called Aunt Bella and Uncle Rufus. They came and picked her up, or either they were at her house. I don't know that part. But I remember them coming, and I remember where they parked on the street because of the screen of the mind. And they parked and they started yelling for me. And that's when the people had told me I had to go back down and that your family was expecting you. And just, it'll be okay. We'll see you soon. One of those, sorry you can't stay here. But I wanted to stay with them. I do remember that. I didn't want to go back down. And they put me back in my body. Okay. So I do have that way of communicating like we all do. We just don't know what we're communicating with. So we're communicating with those beings, and I can't tell you if they're angels, extraterrestrials, or any of that. But all I know is they're not demonic and they don't have horns and all that. At least I have no memory of those, or leopard people or any of that. Only humans is my tribe anyway. So they put me back down in my body. And then I saw Sisty walking around me. And I just sort of woke up like out of a dream. And I saw my grandma, and I said, she was yelling, Jan, Jan. And I said, here I am. And so she grabbed me by the hand and she says, where have you been? Your mother's worried sick. She called and had to get Uncle Rufus to come get me to help come look for you because she lost you. I said, no, I was with those up there. And I pointed and I showed her the sky. She says, what do you mean you were with them? I said, she said, no, who was with you? I said, those people up there. And I pointed to the sky. And she said, what do you mean? She said, she just shook her head. She says, you sure have a vivid imagination. I said, no, I was with them up there and I want to go back. She said, well, don't say anything to your mother about that. And, just tell her, you were here sleeping, you fell asleep. And I said, why? She said, you just don't talk about them up there. So I was like, well, but why? She says, because we don't talk about them. Those are angels. And we don't talk about angels. I went, okay. She said, well, don't talk about them. I said, okay. So Aunt Bella and Uncle Rufus come running from the car. They were slow. They were older too, but they walked through the ditch and over down there. And then we all four started walking towards the house. And she said, Lord of mercy. And they were like, where she was. She fell asleep out here in the field, just laid down. And she says, what is it? She was reached down and was whispering to me, what is it, baby? What is it? Because you feel, you don't want that baby. Is that what it is? I said, no, I don't know. I just wanted to go with them. It's just, well, no, don't say that. So they blamed it on the baby, of course, that I ran away from home for 3 years. So that's what they said. I ran away from home and everybody was happy that I was still jealous of the baby. That's how the story went, that I ran away from home.
Let me interject here. So this is where, if children say their authentic truth, they say, I remember being a different person. I remember being on board a ship. I remember seeing, somebody standing in. The adults start making us question our reality and doubting ourselves. And it would be a completely different world if the adults would say, I'm going to pay attention to what you're saying and really take you seriously, because they dismiss children because they're under a certain age or, whatever. And I think adults really need to pay attention to what the children are saying. So you had a very important message to convey and you were dismissed and you were shamed. Like, don't say that. Like, that's something that's to be embarrassed about or ashamed of. They're teaching you to lie, to hold back the truth, to not be real, to not be authentic. So it's really a horrible thing that our parents do to us, and it shuts us up. That it's very effective because we want to fit in with the tribe, and they want to hear that you have another tribe. So I feel for you, and yet that's something you'll never forget. That you and I have experiences on board ship that no matter how the adults or other people in our society tried to shame us and make us think that we're crazy and that it wasn't real, we know we have a knowingness that was real. Now, I'm not going to go into this right now. We've got a lot of shows that we're going to do, but we'll bookmark this. So I went up to the mothership, but we'll do that another time. I'm going to focus on Theresa this time. So we have about 10 minutes. So you also mentioned scooting versus crawling, and I Googled the internet, and so kids are shamed if they scoot. This is how judgmental our society. There are lots of children that scoot rather than crawl. But unless you're crawling, they'll start saying, well, you're slow, whatever. They do judgments. So you mentioned this scooting versus crawling. Were you a scooter or a crawler?
I never braced my
That
neck
you
up and crawled. I always scooted. I sat on my bottom, took my legs and dug in with my heels. Another reason why my ankles may be different than most. But I pulled with my heels. I never crawled. And so uh, Huey scooted on his butt too. And mother didn't understand. I mean, they would get down and crawl with me. They were always trying to get me to crawl, and I'd sit back up and scoot across the floor. I just learned how not to get my hands dirty. I didn't like anything touching my hands or anything on my hands. So I remember sitting on the furnace and trying to blow the fire out. And they were laughing about that and get me off because the furnace was on the floor and I could scoot across it. But, I was blowing like that, trying to blow the furnace
You're
fire
breaking
out.
up. Sorry.
Yeah. I was trying to blow the furnace out that I was sitting on at my grandmother's because it was on cement blocks. The Air Force had built those houses for their officers, but I was trying to blow the furnace out. But yeah, I just scooted on my butt.
Right.
Now, I don't know why you found that interesting, and it's in our talk, I guess, because you and your husband are into
Well,
therapy.
you mentioned it.
Psychology.
Well,
Well, see how this little
I think
girl
it is because majority crawl, and I think that shows that you were a special. Look how special that little blonde-haired girl looks. She looks she looks like a little ET almost. So there might
I
have
was
been, it
never
might be
that
some
skinny,
romance.
though. I
No,
always
no,
had
you
little
were
fat rolls.
a baby.
I was a fat baby.
You were
I
a
was
fat
bigger than
baby.
this little
I
brown
was
baby,
more
I'll
like
tell
this
you that.
baby. I was so thin, like this little baby girl. I was so thin.
My girls
I was just
were, all my girls were, well, no, Lauren was fat like me, but three of them were skinny, like they always looked malnourished. It was very embarrassing. I
yeah.
mean, I had to hear about I wasn't feeding my children, but they're still, two of them are blonde and skinny and tall and lanky like their dad. Lauren is like me. Out of four kids, three of them were tall, lanky, and they never changed. That little
We don't
girl.
know why this is relevant. Yeah.
DNA, I
So we don't know
guess.
why it's relevant. This came out in we were getting critical points. So we'll bookmark this. There might be more relevance. So what happens is we can plant ideas in our psyches, and for me, we'll talk about something, and then like a week later, or 2 weeks, or a month, or 2 months later, I'll wake up and go and I'll have more information on whatever we're talking about. It's really a weird process that my brain does. So down the line, you might have more information on scooting versus crawling, but I
Yeah,
think
you go.
there's some significance,
Now I
and
learned to
we
pull
won't get
up
it today.
from scooting. Think about it. I would pull up on the coffee table, and I still remember the dark coffee table that Sisty and Mother and Aunt Dorothy all had the same coffee table. Don't ask me why, but they're all dark with those
Uh
lion feet, and you could grab the edge and pull up on it. So I remember learning how to walk and
huh.
pulling up. So I had memories before I even learned to walk. So I don't know
So you
what age
may. Uh,
I was
how old were
told to
you when
walk
you started
fast.
walking? Do you have any memories of
I was
when you
walking
started walking?
I
Did
was
you walk
walking by
earlier
11.
or later?
I don't know what's the normal time
Right.
for I started walking early. I was fat, but I pulled up from my butt to standing up, never crawled. That was just, well, that's
Uh,
how I remember it too. Yeah, I had memories,
and I remember
screenshots.
pulling myself up from the crib.
I do,
Yeah,
I
I remember
remember. And
pulling
pulling
myself
the
up from the
crib
crib.
too. They're there. All the
Yeah,
memories.
so-
I think we may have
All
encoding
right.
before
Let's
we
see.
come.
Now this one we have about 5 minutes. Okay, so this is a little boy.
Superman.
And you had an episode, yeah, and I didn't get the year of this. So how old? You don't know how old you were when you did
About
this.
like this little boy
It was
here,
50
about that size, 3 years old. Brenda, hand me that red picture. Make the picture big. Make me up. Put me big again. Take this one off.
I'll put you big again. Here you go.
I was that size.
There. Look at that. Look at that girl. You were that little. That's how old. Do you have it? Is that? My mother wrote everything on the back of the pictures. Is there? Did your mother write on the back of the picture and say what year?
No,
it was,
but that's
how old you
between I
were?
was 3 and 4
You don't
because
know unless you
Brenda's
take it out.
not there. It was right. Brenda was
Okay,
in
between
Mama's
3 and
lap.
4.
That was stocky.
It just says when you were born.
And only Brenda looked on the back. Whose writing is that, Mother's?
This is 1954, March of 1954.
Okay. This is about the time because this is before Brenda was born, March 54. Now, so it had to be
Oh my
after
God,
Brenda. It was the same year because Brenda was a baby.
So you
So
were just like you were. I
Brenda-
wrote that down. You were just like this little. This is a from Superman.
That's what I looked like
or
when you were
Superboy.
born.
Yeah, so you were lifting a truck. I don't know if you did that, but I found these on
I
the
lifted
internet.
a car. I lifted the back end of a car like that. I did. Brenda,
Wow.
Mother was
And then
holding. The car crushed Daddy and Uncle Harold on the. There was a ditch at Sisty's house, and we were always running over the curb. So Uncle Harold was living there. He played basketball. He came out with, and they got it out of the trunk of an old Plymouth turtle hole, they called it. Got the crank up where you crank it, and they cranked it up, but it went over the car wheel was already over the curb. So they put it at the end of the curb on the gravel and pumped it up. But somehow he started falling, and they got it up off of the curb, but it bent over, and Daddy reached behind, or Daddy was standing behind him in the ditch, and Uncle Harold fell on him on the ditch, and the crank, whatever you call it, fell on both of them, and they were stuck under the stick with the pressure of the car on two men, and so I picked it up just like that. I said, Mama, I can do it. She said, don't you get out of the car. Don't you get out of the car. I was standing in the back and looked out the window, and the car was up like that. And I said, it's okay, Mama, I can help them. I got to get Daddy. And so I went to the back and picked the car up, and Daddy is sitting there and said, how'd you do that? And Uncle Harold said, doesn't matter how you did, get out. And Uncle Harold looked at me, and they moved out from under just get out, And I just held it up like that, and they got out. And Daddy didn't. It's just a miracle. I just picked it up like that.
Supergirl.
They got out. It's just see those two people. Look, see those two people? Daddy was behind Uncle Harold just like that. That's exactly what they look like in the ditch.
Oh my God. So I think that AI helps me find these images even. Because
that's what
where
they look
can
like.
I find this image? And then I pop up and I go, okay, this is perfect. I will use that for.
Daddy was looking at me just like that.
Baby.
Yeah, they look just like that. They were just closer to the wheel. And Daddy pulled Uncle Harold out, and that stick fell down. The crank or whatever you call it, that stick, you pull it up, and then I set the car down. And nobody talked about lives. Nobody ever talked about it. Mom and Daddy said they never talked about it.
They will never talk about it because
Uncle Harold never. Uncle Harold always looked at me. He said, "There's something wrong with that girl." He always acted funny around me after that. Always. He was very quiet.
I had the same reaction, and from my adults, you know, like, what is wrong with this child?
Yeah, something wrong with me. I've
Because
thought
I was
about it when
doing
I was
similar
stocky.
things. But we're
I've thought
focused on
about it
words
when I was
before we
stocky,
get out.
and I knew I could do it. My brain didn't know I couldn't do it. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know I couldn't do
Oh,
it. I said
yeah.
I knew what to do. So
You were
I was stocky,
slide.
and I could just like him. I was stocky, and I could get under it. Brenda says
Right.
we got to go. That our time's up. That we got to go eat dinner. They got dinner
Yeah, our
ready.
time is up. So I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will continue this
Well,
next
thank
week.
you.
We'll do more. I hope you
Okay.
had fun. Brenda, thank you for helping out. Doggies, thank you for helping
Brenda.
out. And then we're going to put some, next time I want you to send me some books that you want to promote and your websites, and then I'll make a slide with your books and website, and I'll have one ready for my books, my website. We have a lot to explore. This is just a tiny piece of our long lifetimes, 69 years and 72 and counting. So
Yeah,
thank
and
you, everybody.
Janet
You wanna
finds
say
all this
bye?
stuff intriguing. You
Yes.
know, I don't know if anybody else will, but Janet thinks it's intriguing. But she's finding how we fit together because the story is way down the road as adults, right? You and I meet in 1993, so you in 94
This
you
is
would have
only
been.
the 50s. We got the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Oh my goodness! All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
All right.
your
Well, I'm going
story.
to honor our commitment to end the broadcast. So my website is dragonattheendofTime.com. Your website is what's your website to go to?
ACOclub.com.
Okay. That's the end of this week's. We'll see. ACOclub.com and dragonattheendofTime.com. And I'll put this up on aquarianmedia.com. So bye for now. Thank you, everybody. Aloha.